At least we got something.
My husband is starting a new schedule regular school and I think Monday is the day. I wanted to see if he could find a but
I'm just saying, how are you?
I feel like I'm there all day.
Right.
Especially.
So what day
board
did you
meetings.
read now?
Just like, play all the time. You know what I mean? I can put.
No.
I probably should, it's not like I should be pushing out.
She's an afternoon. That's why they're in
They're doing my yard. They're all rocks and I'm getting another. No, I'm just like Tom.
I'll do it like that, like I did.
But she worked better for me than most of the fact. Back in the office and trying to do things, and then I like to do it. But
I might have to do that. I know like I.
We just go do what I said. Maybe just roll out.
Once I set aside,
The,
do you think there's anyone else that we work with who should be added in here?
They went to do that movie, you can find it out. You can't wait for that.
Did you know
it's okay. We want to go ahead and get started, and then he should be here. Okay. Are we good with that? Okay. All right, we'll go ahead. I'm going to call to order the Town of Unicoi DMA meeting scheduled for Monday, June 20th, 2022. I welcome everybody here. First thing we'd like to do is enjoy an invocation provided by our request was the Reverend David Heisinger, who is handing that duty off to his new protege, lead preacher, Lance Hamby. So Lance, thank you for coming. We'll ask you to come up. Well, the podium's kind of a weird spot, but stand up and do that. And then, Roger, would you lead us in the pledge, please? Thank you.
You would bow your heads with me for a word of prayer. God, I thank you for bringing us together here this evening. We come before you with gratitude today, and I thank you for each and every person that is here represented tonight. I thank you for their care and their passion for this place and their investment into the community around them. God, we are thankful for your creation and the beauty that we get to enjoy here, living in the midst of the mountains. We are mindful of the work of your hand and thankful for your mercies that are new every day. And Father, I want to pray specifically over the county board this evening for the officers and the members, those participating. I ask that you would give them guidance, give them direction, give them wisdom and resolve as they seek to move forward. And we ask that you would assist us in our labors and let us be attentive to the task at hand. And we pray this in the mighty and the powerful and precious name of your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Salute. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Debbie, real quick before you do roll call, Lance, I'm gonna apologize. I was gonna ask you to include something in your prayer. I think most everybody in the community is aware that, we've lost Doug Hobson. And Doug was a mighty force in the town of Unicoi. As alderman, as vice mayor, this is a citizen and a friend. So the services are tomorrow night. But again, just speaking, I should have asked Lance to include something in his invitation, but y'all just remember that family. His wife Cynthia, 18 years, and his best friend, his sister Betty, really struggling. So anyway, just want to make sure everybody was aware of that and be thinking of them. Okay, thank you. Well,
Alderman Bennett.
Here.
Alderman Redford.
Here.
Alderman Raines.
Here.
Vice Mayor Cooper.
Here.
Mayor Boland.
all right, thank you. First thing on the agenda is approval of minutes from our last meeting. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any other comments about minutes? All right, then let's go to the vote.
Alderman Bennett.
Yes.
Alderman Redford. Yes. Alderman Raines.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cooper.
Yes.
Mayor Boland.
Yes. Now is when we give citizens an opportunity to speak if there's anything they'd like to bring before the board. We do have little quote-unquote cards that we'd like to hand out. It's very helpful for our city reporter when she's recording minutes to get a name correct when a person will fill that out for us. If anyone would like to speak tonight, we just ask you to please speak on anything that's not on the agenda. Please be sure to state your name for us first and last before you speak. And was anything else turned in? That's where anybody anything to say? Okay, no citizen, no interest tonight? Okay, thank you. All right, on old business, we have second reading and public hearing of ordinance 2022-305, which is the ordinance for the town of Unicoi adopting the annual budget for fiscal year beginning July 1, 2022 and ending June 30, 2023. Now, this is a second reading. There are some changes we're going to need to look at, but I think we need to open up the conversation for the budget. If there is a motion to approve, we'll start that process.
I make the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. In the process, if I may go ahead and share some of what, it's more housekeeping than anything else. Debbie has been really good as she prepares for auditors, as she gets assistance from accounting services monthly. In addition to comptroller's office always being in touch, there's been a request that we create some line items and move some items into those line items, just sub-categorizing some of our money. In addition, when we're going over fiscal years, we weren't really sure where that endopharmaceutical money was going to get paid out, when it was going to get paid out. I have been assured by Joe Randy, who is Sheriff of Tennessee Development District Board, that there will be a location to deposit that money before July 1st. So one of the amendments, which we'll have to vote on this amendment, so I'm making a motion to amend, is moving the opioid money out of the 2023 budget and putting it back in the 21-22 budget. Did I say that correctly? Yes, okay. And then another one is ARPA. Our ARPA money has come in and one has come in, we'll get another batch in November. That money isn't all clearly being spent in one fiscal year or the other fiscal year. It's spanning over the 2 fiscal years. And so those adjustments are all going to be made so that when ARPA money is going to be spent in the 2022, before June 30th of this year, will come out of this year's budget. And then any ARPA money we anticipate coming after July 1st will come out of the 22-23. You have been provided with this piece of paper right here to explain that. What's on the left hand, under the blue box on the left hand side, is money that has been spent or is totally committed. Hopefully we're going to get that next.
All of that money has been spent.
Okay, and then over under the next blue column is money that has been earmarked or designated from that ARPA money. Does that make sense? And we're just cleaning it up to put 21-22 and one side of July 1st and 2023 on the other side of July 1st. That's all that is. So I need, I've made the motion, but I need a second to approve the amendment that we are gonna add.
Second.
So we have a second. Okay, thank you. So let's vote, call for a vote on the motion to amend. We got a second down here. I made the motion. There was a second. Oh, I'm sorry.
We've not been given information on the opioid location and when they're gonna open and the details.
There's gonna be a bank account. There's an EIN number
I know
that's been
that,
established.
I know that, but I had the understanding that we would know more about what they're going to do and how they're going to long-term operate and stuff before we actually get them the money. Is that not correct?
I think I don't have a good answer I understand what you're asking. I don't have a good answer for what you're asking. My impression was the entity, not the people necessarily, but the entity, needs to see that money there to know they are okay to move forward.
Is every other county
So-
gonna send their money right now, or are they waiting too?
I think they're planning to send. Now, that's another thing. But we can still cut the check, or we don't have to deposit it anywhere, but we can still cut the check in this fiscal year. This is primarily a bookkeeping issue, but we can cut the check
I
and hold
understand
on.
that.
Or we can hold on. We can hold on.
But, you know, I was under the understanding we're gonna get details before we actually send the money, because once they get it, we're just in their mercy to do whatever they're gonna do. You see what I'm saying?
Well, sort of, except the board of directors will be established, and it'll be up to the board of directors to manage how that money is spent.
See, we talked extensively when we talked about this before. As, okay, so they got the money to open the doors. So how they gonna operate later is my question. And I don't expect you to answer that, but, you know,
Well,
how are they gonna sustain it?
a lot of what I do know about that is going to be, and I don't know the name of the organization. I wish I could come up with some letters for it, but it's a, mental health association group that has its own commissioner that has earmarked money to help support this as well. I mean, like $1 million, a lot. So, and that may have, that'll have to be, budgeted every year, obviously. But the state is for it, and the state is supportive, it's only $1 million a year on that old building. Well, I'll say old building, formerly Carter County Jail building, Carter County Work Camp building. We can write the check and hold it.
I do want to say one thing, it is budgeted in both years, because we didn't know when this was gonna happen. We can leave it in the 23 budget if the board so desires. It would just mean that, since we recognize the revenue in the 22 year, we'll have to reduce that, take that out of the 22 year, because we did book it as revenue whenever we received it. So, we can just do a reversal of the revenue, because it's not been spent yet. We were trying to do that before June 30th, and I believe it's East Tennessee Regional Recovery Center.
You know, I voted for us to give it, but lots of things was vague at the time. And
And I don't know if they're waiting to see how many towns make a commitment with their money, before they move forward. So I mean, it's the, up to the board. But we can't, I don't want to keep it in both years. Obviously, we'll have to reduce our revenue in this year by 102,000 if we're going to pay it out in the next year. But it was budgeted in both years because we didn't know when it was going to be paid out.
I know, our last visit to Nashville, after, meeting with a number of people, commissioners, deputy governor, deputy governor, I think was the title. Anyway, once that conversation was concluded, on our way back, the next steps were create the entity, get an EIN number, and set up an account. And start putting money in. Those were the next steps. Now, they've had a pretty lengthy and detailed pamphlet, but I think y'all took a copy home to look at one point. It's not fly by night. I mean, I think it's a trustworthy, if something doesn't get off the ground on it, money will be returned. They're not gonna go off the Aruba on it. I don't think. Unless they ever want to come back.
that's a little.
I don't have any updates on the situation. I would think it would be okay to continue to designate the money for it, and maybe we could get an update, maybe before the next board meeting. I can certainly see where Alderman Ray is coming from, wanting to know what the status is. Does that help?
No, I mean, I get where she's coming from as well. I get where she's
I
coming from as
understand
well.
too, and
Yeah.
we're very close to the end of the year.
Yeah.
And I'm still trying to find out exactly how the check is supposed to be made out to. So if the board would be more comfortable with that still being in the 23 budget, it's not an issue.
We're just moving over. Where's my brother?
Is that good with y'all?
Okay, so we'll leave it in the 23 budget. And I'll have to reverse out $102,000 in this year, since we did look at his revenue.
Okay, well, we were in discussion, so, but there's two items in this motion
There's
to
already
amend.
one too.
There was the end-of-pharmaceutical opioid money, but there was also the ARPA. So I guess I need to amend my motion to amend the budget to leave the end-of-pharmaceutical money in the 2023 budget year.
Well, it's already in there. It's
Okay,
already
so leave
there.
it, we're not gonna
So,
move it, because the
yeah.
motion was gonna have us move it, so we're just gonna leave
Yeah,
it.
so
And we're
your
only-
motion now would just be to make
ARPA
adjustments to
changes.
the ARPA money
ARPA
based on what
changes.
was spent this year and what will be changing for next year.
Okay, so does that make sense? The amendment now is only just ARPA?
Yeah.
Are you going to second?
I'll say.
Okay, so now, just on the amendment, are we okay to take a vote? Okay. Ms. Cassidy?
Alderman Bennett?
Yes.
Alderman Redford?
Yes.
Alderman Ray?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cooper?
Yes.
Mayor Moore?
Yes. Now, on the heels of that, We had a motion and a second to approve the budget as it stands, but now we've included this amendment. Any further discussion on the budget, or are we ready to vote? Ready to vote?
Alderman Bennett,
Yes.
Alderman Radford. Yes. Alderman Rainey,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cooper,
Yes.
Mayor Gordon.
Yes. Okay. All right, unfinished business, none, new business. Consideration for a joint interlocal agreement for use of the substation located at 190 Golf Course Road, Unicoi, Tennessee, between Unicoi County EMS and the town of Unicoi. That's in your packet. I think what you have in front of you there is, a short, but verified commitment. It lacks some of the detail that we, I think, need to see and want to see in terms of keeping of the grounds and all that sort of thing. But I think at this point where we are with that purchase, I think it gave the town a sense of assuredness that EMS is going to do their use that building. So that's for the most part the intent of this. There will be other details that are going to need to be worked out about keeping with the grounds and whatnot. So that being said, is there a motion to approve? Elizabeth has looked over, or city attorney has looked over.
I'll make the motion.
Have a motion, a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Well, as you mentioned, this is just basically clarifying that they are willing to come out here.
Yes, they are committed to it.
No more on that.
And that's what we needed at that time, yeah. Okay, all right, discussion, vote please.
Alderman Bennett,
Yes.
Alderman Radford. Yes. Alderman Rainey,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cooper,
Yes.
Mayor Gordon.
Yes. All right, next on the agenda is an agreement between the town of Unicoi, Tennessee and Unicoi County concerning provision of street maintenance services by the county through its highway department to the roads within the town of Unicoi. And you have that agreement included. You also additionally were provided with a fee sheet for your information. Let's do this. These are per hour fees for use of those pieces of equipment when they are used. To give just an idea of how much, why our roads are so expensive. Why our roads are so expensive, they are expensive, and our bridges are expensive. This is a relationship that the county of Unicoi has had with, the, roads superintendent and department for a number of years. It does renew every year, gives them, get new consideration every year. I will be happy to entertain a motion if anyone would like to make one.
So moved.
I have a motion, a second,
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, I will say that when I read this over again, on item 6, says cost of service may increase due to the increase in fuel and maintenance of equipment. Well, that started me looking, we have no price schedule anywhere that he's charging us. And don't ever remember seeing one, so they put one together, and I think probably we need a little clarification on it. At least it's something we can understand a little bit. And this, I assume this is per hour, and we don't have labor costs on here, but.
She said the labor, yeah, they're, based on their raise, it will change.
Okay, but we had really nothing in the comment that says may increase. I said, okay, we don't have a price schedule. At least we have something, so maybe you can get a little better one later. Or something, so
Okay, maybe.
Yeah. at least we have something to go by.
See, he's already got a difference in gas, so we know that might be.
Change.
We're just merciful on the gas prices. And really his prices, if these are per hours, cheap.
All right, any further discussion or comments? Ms. Kester, call for the vote, please.
Alderman Bennett,
Yes.
Alderman Radford,
Yes.
Alderman Ray,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cooper,
Yes.
Mayor Warren.
Yes. Thank you. Next is, consideration of resolution 2022-345, a resolution of the Board of Mayor of Alderman of the County of Unicoi, Tennessee, to accept the donation of a train signal light used on the CSX Railroad line in memory of Marvin McComb. You've got your information provided in the packet, with the photograph. It will cost us to have that removed and brought to the town from North Carolina.
$500.
$500.
And I think the value of the signal is $1,500 that's given to the town.
And obviously, it would be in addition to our rail car out here.
That's what they're going to set it up, that's the complete.
They told me that it's gonna be, wired, that it flashes, the lights will flash, and you'll be able to see it from 26, based on where they told me that we could put it. They'll take it apart in 3 sections and transport it over here.
And Rocky Hollifield has been involved in that caboose restoration for a number of years now, and he hasn't let us astray. He's been good to his word, and everything that he's committed to. So, motion
to approve.
a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, Ms. Kester, call for the vote, please.
Alderman Bennett,
Yes.
Alderman Radford,
Yes.
Alderman Ray,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cooper,
Yes.
Mayor Warren.
Yes. Okay, next on the agenda is ordinance 2022-306. First reading and consideration of ordinance 22-306, an ordinance of the County of Unicoi, Tennessee, to rezone property on Unicoi Drive from B2 Central Business District to R2 Medium Density Residential District. This came before the Planning Commission. You see the document here. In addition to there being some pictures, you see the activity of the Planning Commission, the original request, backup documentation. There's quite a bit here in your packet to give you some information on that process. To open up discussion, is there a motion and a second?
I'll make the motion.
To
Second.
Accept the request.
accept, and you can make a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I think we have the White House and we can, he was going to speak to the board lesson.
There were some questions about inspections, whether for commercial or residential. Dwight is our contracted building inspector. Do you have anything you could contribute for information to this board? About,
The roof line was extended on the building, and when I stopped and noticed that was going on, so on the property, he got a permit with the addition of the roof that he was working on, and that was what I inspected the property.
that was all that was inspected?
Yes.
Okay,
And he did walk me through the interior of the building, just showed me some things that he did on the inside, but as far as the inspections, just the roof system, for the work that was being done, was all inspected.
okay. So any residential structural detail has not been inspected and signed off on. Whether that was a lot of electrical change, did urban utilities have to come for electrical? Did you have one more thing?
To my knowledge, there are no structural changes in the building
Interior.
itself. It was just an extension of the roof line. And yeah, put in some supports for that addition, but on the building itself, to my knowledge, there was no structural changes on the building other than the addition of that roof line.
What about electrical? We didn't talk about that.
Yeah, there was an electrical structure. They did come and inspect that before we started any work.
Who did it?
What's the gentleman's name?
Raymond Kingsley.
Yeah, Raymond, they checked everything before we started any construction. Or any kind of wiring of that all.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't there a sign off after the electrical's complete? Am I wrong about that? When you do the electrical work, the electrician gives
Yeah, he gave an approval.
after the work is done.
Well, no, I'm saying for us to continue work, he passed the inspection for us to do work. I don't know where that paperwork is, but that's what he was with the electrician, even my mom was there, and he said everything looks good.
Dwight, as a residential building inspector, is there anything that has not been provided on this property as a residential property? Is there anything that's come short that we need to make sure is included?
I'm not aware of anything. What Raymond does on the electrical inspections, you know, we talk during the process of home inspections when things are being done. But when I went to this property, it was not a residential use at that time. So I don't know what Raymond may have looked at or not looked at. I've not discussed that with him.
And may I add that there was no power on at the time, so he had to come look at it before they would even hook the power back up.
Turn it back on.
So that's his communication between me and the power board. And they said, a new meter, and once it was converted to residential, then they would come and change the, charge that they bill me to residential. But that's not been done yet.
Who took it? Okay, well, okay, hold on, let me get back to this page. Alderman Radford is asking me a kind of a side question here. Let me get to that document. Chris, I'm gonna go back to something we talked about at the planning commission, okay, on the application for proposed rezoning. Number 8 says reasons why property should be rezoned or text of the zoning ordinance should be changed. And it's written on here, and I don't know whose handwriting this is. Owner was told he could live in the property, but not when sold, changing to residential or owner occupancy. That's what would require the rezoning, correct? So where did this information, owner was told he could live in the property, but not when sold, where'd that come from?
All I was, the only time I ever heard that was down when I walked in and talked to him about, after I'd done all that work, and that the lady said, you told us that you were gonna live in it, that you were gonna resell it. And then that's when I had this hardship come up, not that I haven't had hardships for the last 13 years trying to sell it commercially. So that's when I was told that, and I was kind of shocked. That didn't make a lot of sense either. But I mean, I was kind of aware that I could live there regardless if I owned it.
Yeah, because as commercial, you can.
Yeah.
But if you sold it,
If I sell it, the only way I can sell it residentially is to be zoned residential. I can't even list it in a book residentially. It has to be rezoned in order to let, other than it be commercial only.
Any comments?
I have a question. I've noticed obviously the conversion to a residential looking home there. And have you not requested for that to be rezoned before you started that process of converting it into a residential or into a
Well, I
residential?
went to get a residential permit.
You did go to get one and was it
That's what it says.
approved?
Well, I mean, they had to get a permit.
Okay, that's my question.
Debbie, do you know anything?
I don't, it's not a residential permit, it's just a building permit. And then I think, there was no request to rezone at that point, and it was commercial. But this is just it's just a regular building permit, and on the permit, you can mark if it's residential or commercial when you're doing the building permit.
And what was it marked on that permit?
Well, now this is a application for, to change the zoning.
And what is the date on it, Debbie? An application to change the zoning?
Oh, that was done after I think he tried to list it with the real estate agent as a residential, and she called town hall and talked to Rhonda, and Rhonda told her it was not residential, it was zoned commercial. And I'm not sure, let's see, put the date on here. I don't see a date on there.
I don't see a date.
Do you remember when you did that?
A residential permit.
The zoning.
When you
request.
asked to have it rezoned.
Okay, I think,
It was a few weeks before, because it was on the month of June to go before the planning to get it rezoned.
Yeah.
So I think,
It had been about a couple months before that. Because
it was a couple of, it might have been a couple of weeks. I know there was enough time to get it on the June agenda, because she always requests 10 days, the planner.
yeah, it was supposed to be done in May and then,
I think you missed that one and then ended up putting it on for June.
sometime in May.
So again, I guess my question for you, Mr. Honeycutt, would be, if you were planning to convert it into residential use or residential use, why, before you started the conversion or all of the work on it to get it into residential use, why did you wait for the rezoning request?
I wasn't aware that I couldn't sell it for residential deal. I didn't know that it would entail all this to be able to sell it residential.
Can I speak? I've stopped a couple of times and talked to him. First time, he's gonna live there. His dad's selling materials for homes, large buildings, large structures. He's been in this business all his life and probably didn't follow the town's rules. You didn't maybe know, or you did know. He first told me he's gonna live there. Then it got more beautiful, and I know they put more dollars in it. And then he found another piece of property. Regardless of who done what when, all around town is businesses, homes, and buildings that are homes and buildings, businesses. The one question I have is, I don't know if he needs electrical inspection or not, because I don't want the town to be liable for not getting one. But I think if you look all around him, everything's multi-use there, and I do know as a past realtor, as the bank, and that could have been used for any business, he had it on the market forever trying to sell it as a business, and it didn't go. And maybe somebody could make a nice home there if we allowed it. But I don't know what our rule is. I'm not in that remodeling rules to know if he needs a building, if he needs electrical inspection or not. I I don't know what
I'm
our,
not sure about that either.
that's the only thing I don't know.
Right,
about.
raise your hand. He's raising his hand.
I can get in touch with Gene and find, or Randy, I'm sorry, and find out, what has been done, or what needs to be done. I'll let y'all know tomorrow, here it is.
Just as soon as it's reasonable, I think, yes.
And I don't know if we have a
Thank
zone, excuse me,
That property is, as a, central business district.
but I don't know if we have one that we could call it. Either way, you could sell it as a business or as a residence because,
See, even the residences that do live in buildings, those were grandfathered in.
yeah, but they're still there, you know.
Yeah, they are, and it's not the owners of those properties living there, they're renting.
Right, I know, all
So it's
of it,
a different situation.
but they're not going anywhere. They're gonna be there, so I'm just saying,
This will be a spot zoning. It'll be a spot zoning. One tract. And R2 is, higher density than R1, this is only a single family dwelling, why did we even do R2? I don't even know that, so why did we do R2?
I don't know, that's something that, Asher would have to answer.
Because R1 is single family, this is only single family. I, just as a human being, am I feel all of this, you know what I mean, as a person. I think it's just a bad set of circumstances where the confusion or miscommunication or failure to ask certain questions, either by Connecticut or by the county employee, the failure of those questions to be asked to get clarification, whether the questions were asked and the answers were vague. I don't know. But it puts us all now in a really bad spot. We have to decide what specially to do with this one piece of property in light of all the property around, and in light of, as Mr. Nuss was not shy to remind us, we set out a set of building codes for a reason to plan development. And so just backing off of that plan is arbitrary. So who are we gonna do it for next? Who's the next person that's gonna come down the pipe and say, well, I invested all this in this and the other, and it didn't happen, and now I'm stuck, and so this is what I'm gonna suggest for consideration to the board. I've thought about this since planning commission. It is true that that property has been for sale as commercial for a number of years. That is true. Multiple realtors. The signs would change periodically. It is also true that there is a housing shortage. Houses are in demand. It is true that our planning commission was willing to approve the request pending DMA approval. The planning commission also, in the process of making that approval or getting that approval, also made sure that it wasn't anything that we could turn back at any time if we needed to or wanted to. It didn't have to stay residential forever. So this is what I was going to suggest. We claim there's a housing shortage. You'd like to advertise that house residential. If the BMA approves the rezoning request on 2 readings for that to be residential, we put a 6-month, 9-month boundary on it. Close, residential, within a time frame. Close, not just have a contract, close. Or we're gonna revert back to commercial. Let's see if it really is a residential need and a residential issue. So put a time frame on it that's reasonable. It takes 60, 90 days sometimes to get all the process together to close. That's 3 months. That's something I would throw out there. And it's gonna take 2 readings. So this is June, it's gonna take a July reading, so that would mean they don't into effect until July. And then you get into the winter. And there's not so much activity in the winter.
but if you take away the post office, Toward Johnson City, there's a whole row of houses. I just think these rules ought to apply to new buildings, and these old buildings, we should be able to bend these rules to help the owners of these properties. It's just, like if, I hate to use a name, but let's say Cracker Piece. What if they come in now and said, we want to do away with Cracker Piece and we want to make 2 apartments downstairs and actually 2 upstairs? To me, the homeowner ought to have the heavier side of the recommendation, because they are paying the bills. That's just,
If you do for one,
I know, but I'm saying,
remember that we
exist,
have to.
an existing building, not a new building, an existing building's how I feel about an existing building. And he has beautified that lot and cleaned it up. And, if you go in there and look, it's beautiful. It's
6
beautiful.
months, 9 months to see if it sells, it goes in.
My concern would be that, of course, this small section of the town, that's a huge area. And I understand that you've had it for sale, but if it's zoned residential, I can just foresee that being multiple problems in the future for not only if people have small children there, it's right there at the road. So many things that I could see as a potential issue if it were zoned residential right there. Plus the fact that it is prime commercial land and maybe other things could be done, to make it sell commercially, as we've been in a swamp, and as we head into the possibility of a recession, we don't know what's out there for us, but we certainly have to be aware that we have very limited space for our town, and we have very limited opportunities to make sure that we use it to the best of our ability, and to make it residential at this point, I don't know would be a proper use of prime property, I think. That's just my opinion.
Well, Kathy, I appreciate the work he's done getting it where he's got it. Took a lot of hard work into it. I listen to all your comments, and yes, there may have been some oversights committed on maybe both sides. I don't know. I've seen your permit request, the whole 9 yards. I've seen everything. But you've got a lot of time, money into it. And Kathy, what you said, right, David, what you said. But I'm looking at the overall, to be fair to everyone. Mention electrical inspection, and we do have to do this twice. Gotta do it twice. Maybe another thought, and one of what you said, for example, that we pass it on the first reading. He has 1 year to sell it, but he has to be inspected by our inspector and the electrical to make sure everything's kosher. And then if everything's right, then we can pass it on a second reading. So I'm gonna amend this to say that we'll approve it with the conditions that Dwight and the electrical go in, check it out, make sure everything's good. We give him 1 year to sell it if he can. That's my motion to amend.
Okay, so, did you make the original motion?
Pardon?
Who made the original?
Judy Wright.
Judy.
I amended it.
Okay,
I mean,
so
motion to amend.
you're either gonna withdraw your motion
I'll
or
withdraw.
amend it. So she's gonna withdraw her first motion, so you're gonna make a new motion now.
Well, no, I didn't want to amend her motion. I amended it, okay? We voted on the amendment, then we voted on the motion. that I
Okay,
made.
all right, that, okay, we'll move that. Are y'all following what got requested? The amended was approval.
He wants to do it.
That's good. You mentioned a lot of things, like you said, this is true, this is true. I don't want to get you mixed up that I didn't call electrical inspector and come out there. Because that was, I don't want that to be unclear to you guys on board that I just started doing the work and.
I'm more concerned about electrical on the completed side.
No, there was no intention.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what.
No, I'm on the flip side.
What I mean is he's telling me to do everything He's welcome to come look at it.
That's my
I
point.
mean, I know when I got my fuse box changed to a thing.
But I, you know, I didn't like to see it.
I mean, or when
So
you
are you
retail
good
it.
with that? Are you good with the year? Are you good with the
Okay.
year?
All right,
Mayor,
I'm gonna,
Vice Mayor Cooper cannot amend
Judy.
Judy's motion.
Can I amend my
She
motion?
she can withdraw her motion, or she can amend it.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say. If you withdraw it,
I will
you just
withdraw
make a
my
new
motion.
motion. Roger,
You can
make a new-
withdraw your motion and make another motion.
Well, he can make it.
Okay,
Your motion was to approve the ordinance.
Yeah.
Then,
just, she's gonna withdraw it, you can start again. That's okay, just,
I still think I'm right.
I think we can do it either way.
Okay.
So we're just going down.
Use my amendment as a motion then.
Before, okay, so I'm gonna say it, I'm gonna try to reiterate, I'm gonna second it, and I'm gonna try to reiterate it, okay?
Okay.
I'm gonna second it, okay, here we go. Motion to approve the rezoning request after or contingent on all appropriate inspections, building, electrical, et cetera, whatever we may need, and you're gonna talk about that, he's gonna tell us what we need, okay? Before the next DNA meeting, which is gonna be July, whatever. All those things suitable, rezoning as recommended by the planning commission will be granted. The next contingency then will be 1 year. 1 year from the date of the second reading. 1 year from the date of the second reading, second approval.
I believe all he really has to have is a certified electrical inspector, because
Okay, well, that's true.
yeah,
Well, that's also-
because he told us that he never structurally changed it. So-
Okay, well, that's fine. We'll know what we
But
need.
he also said though that he couldn't get his electricity turned on, because it is commercial, correct?
No,
No, it was turned on in the beginning, but they wouldn't let me touch anything I didn't have until they came out with a certified electrical inspector. He come and inspected everything before I could begin the work.
But you
Just to
might
work
need
on
a
it.
final since you
Yes.
1
added
year.
to it,
Yes.
okay?
1 year from the date of the second reading, the contract must be closed. The purchase must be closed as residential, or it's gonna revert back.
Is that good with you?
Does that make sense? Are we all on board?
Elizabeth, you have any input on it, any information?
I've tried for 13 years, one more year, one third thing.
Well, it won't be.
Well, I'm hoping
Just
if the
next
housing, if the housing market
I'm
is
just
there, it
saying,
says it
yeah.
is. You know,
You need a second.
I said.
She
You
said-
did, okay.
Okay, hang on, Elizabeth is pondering.
I was looking to see, someone, I think it might have been Alderman, Ray asked if there were, a zoning where it could be a single residential home or a business, one or the other. And I was just flipping through, I haven't had a chance to look at this carefully, but it looks like possibly that B3 intermediate business district might allow for that. That any use permitted in the R3 residential district except mobile homes. Then R3 says any use permitted in the R2 area, and then R2 says any use permitted in the R1 area, which includes single-family residences. And then it also includes any use permitted in the B2 district. Let's see. Stores and shops conducting retail business, food specialty shops, personal business and professional services, public buildings. And then anything else in this B3, wholesale business, warehouses, storage yards, automobile home sales, auto repair garages, hospitals, gasoline service. So maybe that might be a good zoning or spot zoning for that area where it could be used as either.
That
Just an
way you could sell
option.
it either way.
Mhm.
Get 99% of the lookers and look.
All right, well, let's move forward as we are, and if we need to do more digging, we can. Let's move forward as we stated. Is everybody still on track? Okay, we ready to vote? Sure. All right, Ms. Kessler, call for the vote, please.
Alderman Bennett,
No.
Alderman Radford,
Yes.
Alderman Ray,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cooper,
Yes,
Mayor Gordon.
Yes. Okay. Next, for consideration.
Can I just make one comment? No names mentioned, but when we originally got a code enforcer, maybe somebody should have stopped when he started and said, hey man, you go down and get your paperwork first?
Amen.
He had a building permit.
No,
And
but
he told he was gonna live in it, which is okay.
No,
That's
but-
what I'm saying.
But when it progressed, I'm just saying, that's part of all that. Okay. Maybe,
That's what I'm saying, communication. This was vague. I don't think it's clear.
yeah, just saying, this is a good example for us to remember.
All right. Next on the agenda, KD Phillips and Company LLC request the Board of Mayor and Alderman consider a price adjustment to current mowing contract due to the sharp rise in gasoline and diesel prices. So, oh my goodness, so you've got here a letter from Kenneth Phillips. And you see that he is asking for a 10% increase. $1,200 for litter collection per occurrence and almost 6,000 per mowing occurrence. Debbie, what does that do to our budget?
Well, it will be okay for the budget because we did get an increase from the, TDOT. The mowing, which is 6 times a year, was at $5,450, and now he's asking for $5,995. And the litter pickup was $1,100 a month, which is 12 months. We have litter pickup, and that's going to 1210. So when you calculate it for the whole year, it's an increase of $4,590, which the budget will handle that.
Okay. All right, anybody like to make a motion?
absolutely.
Okay, second? Second. Motion and a second, any further discussion?
Yeah, I will, I was looking at our new budget for next year, we do have $55,000 in the budget for mowing. So it well covers that.
I'll just say this, I don't think it's enough. But that's all he asked for, was, but I got a feeling
I
he'll
think
come back
it
for
was
more. 'Cause
Conservative in his request.
if you divide that by 465 or 537 or 575, that's not many gallons.
Call for vote, Ms. Dustin.
Alderman Bennett,
Yes.
Alderman Radford,
Yes, sure.
Alderman Ray,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Cooper,
Yes,
Mayor Gordon.
Yes. Okay, next is consideration and approval for a volunteer information release of liability form for volunteers assisting with festivals and events. This is included in your packet. I as well believe that I was handed a more recent copy than what is in our packet. I think there was a small addition, and let me see if I can locate that addition. It is in the first paragraph. It starts, the above named volunteer. In consideration for permission to act as a volunteer for or participate in the above referenced activities conducted by the town of Unicoi, covenant with the town, its administration, they've added there, its elected officials. So before its administration, its elected officials has been added, and then continues on administration, employees, agents, partners, co-sponsors collectively on the following terms. That was added. Now, our city attorney, Ms. Elizabeth, has reviewed this. She gave her sign off. Let's entertain a motion and then open up for more discussion. Anybody willing to make a motion for approval otherwise? One more chance. Anybody like to make a motion to approve or disapprove of this topic? Okay, hearing none, it dies. I would request some feedback from board members so that we need a document such as this. So some feedback would be helpful for us to be able to formulate something that might be acceptable. Okay?
You want a little feedback?
Well, we don't have to do it right now, but I'm just saying, since we denied
I can give you.
it, let's, we need to figure out something that's acceptable, because this is a document we need. We gotta have, so we'll figure that one out, okay? So I would just ask, at your leisure to provide information. Okay, I think that actually brings us down to reports of officers and committees. Lisa Willis, Jean Mo, what's the history committee went up to?
Yeah, what have we been up to? We are growing a garden, and it's a big garden, and it's coming along pretty good. We've had some birds come along and feed out with seeds, but we'll get them. We're having an ice cream social on July 23rd from 3 to 5. We'll have fresh peach, fresh strawberry, vanilla, and chocolate.
Lisa's like, maybe.
She's our blender there, so. At our last meeting, we had a nice crowd come to the meeting. Christy Smith, who is the author of Lost Code, came and spoke and really gave us a lot of information on that. So we're coming along, we've got new members all the time.
Good, all right.
Before you move on, Roger Gardner did call me last week and says he is still pursuing to get your lease fixed.
The roof
Yeah,
leaks where the shakes are.
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, planning commission, we reviewed a lot of what we did in planning commission.
Yeah, this is the same, well, Irish studied and he tried to sell a commercial property for at least 12 years. He said he was told that he could live on the property, but not himself. He stated his intentions was to live there, but in the meantime, he got some property in Unicorn, came available, that he's now building on the property to be his residence. He also states that the property hasn't been inspected was inspected for residential. It's what my understanding that he told us in the minutes, but that said the utilities couldn't be turned on, because it still needs to be done commercial. The board discussed that the property can be rezoned back to commercial in the future if desired. After the board discussion with the owner, it was voted unanimously to approve and be sent to be made for consideration for a final decision that will be put in 2 readings. And then the board of zoning appeals here on June 6, 2022, and the new business consideration of variance request from Arnold Riggs, owner of Riggs Oil Company. The property is located at 101 Newport Village Place, that would allow a 4 by 8 lead sign that would be attached to the bottom of the sign that is already on the property. The board voted unanimously to approve.
I'm speaking of, Black Diamond, I filled up for 399. Did anybody else make it by? Like for an hour, he ran his gas for 399. Yeah, I'm just not gonna get there. I did get by there, by the way. Okay, anyway. All right, Mountain Harvest Kitchen, you have a report in your packet. I know that Brandon is, has sent out letters raising prices. He's gotten a little bit of feedback on that, but in terms of everything going up, he as well is going to increase those prices. Let's see what else. The bills on, I know there's an oven that had to get fixed. Anyway, the kitchen is moving on. 4 potential new clients. Everything is just status quo on all that. And we still haven't been able to confirm that we've received our last reimbursement from the EDA or ARC grant for that
Yeah,
kitchen.
that automatically goes into that Bank of Tennessee, and it's, last time I checked, it has not been there.
Okay, so we're still working on getting that last. Okay. Parks and Rec,
Before you move on, where do we stand on your efforts to,
the whole, well, not the whole, president of TCAT is a new person is assuming that, and, there's a number of things I'd like to talk to him about. I was gonna wait and let him get his feet in there, but then schedule something with him, to go meet with him and talk with him about a variety of things.
what better grant people? How far you got with them?
Nowhere, we're sitting, waiting on that money to come
I'm
back.
just gonna work on that for you.
We're still waiting on that money, okay? All right, Strawberry Festival. Golly moly.
Alright, so we have a big festival that we had, we sold 122 booths, which was 22 more than we had, last year. And that was about, we didn't have the year before, but that was still about 45 more than we had the year prior to that. Booth sales alone were 6,455 compared to last year, which was just 4,900. Overall, our festival brought in $7,502. That was overall profit. All of our expenses were covered. That is what just actually came in as profit. So overall festival was a good turnaround. Community yard sale, we had that. We went ahead and did $10 a vendor this year, and we had a big turnout for that. We brought in 22 vendor spaces, and a lot of people came out. And then we were able to use leftover Strawberry Festival stuff, just sold a few magnets and stickers that were quarter piece and old shirts and things. And then as far as Freedom Fest, we are ahead of schedule, and everything is looking really great for that as well.
All right, our goal is not ever to necessarily make a profit off the Strawberry Festival. It is to break even, but you go so hard at it to break even. Don't you remember that? A big profit, so that was pretty impressive. Okay, thank you, Elizabeth. Okay, we are down now to police. What did I say?
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Samantha.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Hi,
Amanda.
sisters. I'm sorry to call anything and everything.
That girl right over there, thank you, that girl right over there, thank you. I'm sorry, Amanda.
Liz is like, oh.
Huh?
She needs a game.
There, I just need to get my head right, but anyway.
So you're gonna call me John.
You're next. Andy, that wasn't a bad thing. Well, I didn't mean it to be a bad thing, I'm sorry. Austin?
Do you want me to smack her for you?
No, we're good. I'm afraid.
Okay, like I talked about the last time we were here, we were in the midst of finding a police chief. We had an exhaustive process. We advertised at more than 40 applicants for the position. We interviewed 5 people, I think, first time, and then we brought 2 individuals back for a second. So out of all that process down, we have now selected a good police chief. He is here with us this evening. Mr. Nick Hughes, up here, his wife Jana. So this is our new chief, effective next Monday, 27th, is the ceremony of swearing in. So I want to congratulate Rick, and did an excellent job. He's local, he lives here in our town. He's been involved in law enforcement locally for several years. I won't say many, he's not that old. But we welcome him here and we look forward to good things. And I'm sure we'll get.
I'll tell you, those last 2 candidates put us through the ringer.
It really
I mean, it was tight, it was really challenging. And I think it was really smart of us to bring them both back one more time, just go through some more questions. And I think it helped us focus and narrow down, so, yeah.
we look forward to working with you. My report, the month is depth of property, two, reckless endangerment, one, aggravated child abuse, one, and let me comment on that briefly. We had a boyfriend who attacked his girlfriend's 7-year-old child while he was supposedly babysitting, causing that child to go to the hospital. Injuries, rather severe, on the head, the neck, 7 years old. The rest of that individual is currently incarcerated, waiting for trial. We've had one domestic assault. We've had 7 accidents. It's not 7, 2, Friday up here. Yes.
Trying to get that thing in their
Trying to
heads.
get that-
Those free ices and hot dogs.
We had one destruction and theft. They broke into the car wash, Jerry Vance's car wash. Well, one of the cash things off the wall, took the money out and destroyed his whole system. So we've had 8 sessions, citations, we sent to sessions court. Those involve things like driving on the road, misdemeanor charges. 8 of those. 1 aggravated assault, 1 vandalism, 1 communicated threat, 1 implied consent, and we've had 5 municipal citations. in this month.
It's busy enough.
This-
Busy enough. You know, there's like crime here. No, but it will, but no, our crime is being identified and dealt with. We don't have it. That's just a pet peeve. Okay, I'm sorry, I'll get off that. All right, municipal court report, Ms. Kessler.
Okay, this is for the month of May. Total payments to disperse on this reporting month was $701.25. Litigation tax was $40.43. Department safety fines, $213.75. Municipal training was $2.85. In the CIS fees, that's courtware was $75, so the net disbursement was $369.22. That's, of course, the lowest it's been, in a long time. It's usually more than that. And I'm only showing 2 speeding tickets for the month of May.
Okay, you ready to move on to your reporter's report?
Okay, on road projects, Kathy and I discussed with Gary Toss Senior, the bridge situation on Fagan Road. I think I mentioned that the last month. The beams underneath the bridge are totally rusted and a large piece of asphalt that's missing. Unicoi County Highway Department does not have the manpower or the equipment to replace this particular bridge based on the way it's constructed. And so we had them to install a metal plate to cover the hole, which is pretty much, couldn't see anything underneath it. So Gary Tossinger will be doing a cost estimate, and then we will move forward to see about bidding the replacement of the bridge.
Debbie, did Gary say the wing wall has to be replaced?
No, the direction we're going in is to kind of like put a drain pipe in, underneath this bridge. He felt like that would be the best way to go. Some of the side wings are okay.
He said they were okay.
So,
The wings are okay, just put a new floor in.
Well, he
Pretty
suggested,
much.
he drew a picture of something that maybe looked like that,
He won't
like
put a new-
flat on the bottom, but more curved, like,
So he's not wanting to use the wing walls, he's wanting to put a whole new tile in.
well, this was gonna go, it'll butt up against the wing wall.
Laid down between them.
Yeah,
he's working on a
Yeah.
design
Okay.
and a
Yeah.
cost estimate, so I'm sure that we'll have that in the next few weeks. also met with First Tennessee Development District staff on June the 8th in Irwin Utilities and in Floyd County to discuss these ARPA funds. And this time we got a little bit better news to where we could go ahead and kind of join with Irwin Utilities about the Massachusetts situation. So we got a little bit better after we came out of that meeting, and hopefully we can get something moving on that. Jason Engineer and Cross Engineering will be coming up with some ideas. Hopefully won't cost as much as what we originally had thought. It's removing a manhole and doing some stuff with the drainage, the water.
Or something they're leaking.
To give you an update on the caboose, we are having the two gates being made to go on this side of the caboose. It's for safety. We will be bringing that signal light over, and hopefully this is all going to come together by the end of June. And we'll look to schedule a ribbon cutting and do something like that, maybe the second week of August. Again, talking about the reimbursement number 15 on the ARC Power Grant. I have talked with Ken several times and we have not received that money yet. That's $28,960. I will, even if we don't have the money, I will set it up as a receivable to where it will hit this year. And that way we'll be able to count the revenue in this year, because we have a 60-day rule that if it goes into the next year, we can still bring it back into this year. And that would be good to end the year, in the, not being in the red. The purchasing of the maintenance building, so far, we're waiting on the attorney for Johnson City to return from vacation, to go ahead and sign off on the paperwork, and then everything's complete. We actually have the check already written, and hopefully that will be taken care of at the end of this week or into the beginning of next week. The total amount of that purchase was $215,562, and that included the legal fees for the title search, the title insurance, and the cross engineering and Tysinger Hampton site assessment, environmental studies. So that included everything for the purchase of that building. So I wanted to thank Vice Mayor Cooper for rearranging some of his personal plans to oversee the renovation of that building, and we'll start on that in July. We plan on reviewing the personnel policy, the mayor and I, probably next week sometime, to go over the draft that we've received and get that back to Betsy Cunningham to do a final draft, and then we'll go over that with the board and we'll get it back.
All right, thank you. Now on for financial.
Okay, in
This
the
is your
general
Betty
fund,
Kessler show.
in the general fund, right now we're looking at about $1.2 million in our two bank accounts, checking accounts. It's showing $1,234,000, but $200,000 of that has been transferred from LGIP to write the check for the maintenance building. And then I move on into the expenses. For the month of May, we're looking at $208,621, and for revenue and year-to-date, $2,524,717. And we will adjust the June numbers for removing that $102,000 from the revenue on the other year. So that will be a change for that. The expenditures for May, $181,434, and year-to-date $2,120,068. Net income for the month of May was $27,187, and year-to-date $404,649. The income statement for Mountain Harvest Kitchen, For the month, we had MHK revenue, which is the rent from clients, $5,377. And then year-to-date, $87,281. And expenditures for May, which was including personnel and other expenditures for the building, was $4,227. So year-to-date is $99,443. So there's a net income for the month of $1,149, and then a year-to-date loss of $12,162. And very little activity in the drug fund. And then, moving on to the graphs. On our local option sales tax for the month of May is $112,221. Previous year was at $116,368. So year-to-date so far in this fiscal year is $913,523. And the previous year we were at $1,107,772 for the whole year. State share taxes for the month of May, $39,369. Previous year was $37,221. So far year to date, we're at $389,218. And the previous year we were at $372,936. So we've already surpassed through May what we had received last year for the whole year.
Can I ask one little question? The number you gave for the kitchen, if you get that grant money in, that would be the first time ever that kitchen is operating positive, right?
Yeah.
That's right, okay.
All right, motion to approve financial report.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Motion and a second. Any further comments or questions? Discuss or properly vote, please.
Alderman Bennett,
Yes.
Alderman Radford, Alderman Ray,
Yes.
Councilor Cooper,
Yes.
Mayor Gordon.
Yes. Okay. We're down to the end. Any announcements? Visitation is tomorrow at Unicoi United Methodist Church for Doug, 7 o'clock. Visitation 5 to 7, service at 7. I think there is planned for the next morning.
They're supposed to meet at Roseland at 9:50.
Okay.
So it's at 2.
Very good. Okay, and, what else? Announcements? None? Anything? We are anxiously awaiting the, bid opening for the Unicoi Elementary School gym. That should happen on the 28th. See what that came in at. Debbie, how's your summer?
I have no water right now, so it's
Oh.
going about far.
Going, oh, God.
Usual, that matters, yeah.
Good, no, okay. Anything else? Anybody?
Make the motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
I want to make somebody else.
I'm just getting one with it.
It made me think of this right here.